Developing tonight, President Trump has been the object of criticism for calling the Russia probe a witch hunt. But now, months into this investigation, his descriptor is beginning to potentially look more accurate. David Brooks of the New York Times, far from a fan of the president, is raising a red flag as to the speed with which accusations are flying through the media. Watch.
I'm actually getting more uncomfortable with this whole deal, thinking that maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. And I'm bothered by the lack of emerging evidence about the underlying crime, that there was actually collusion or coordination between the Trump White House.
That was shocking. Joining me now, Alan Dershowtiz, Professor Emeritus of Harvard Law School. Great to have you with us.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you. I've been looking forward to being on the show.
Thank you. We've been looking forward to having you. I want to put up one more piece of David Brooks's piece, because, as we say, he has been highly critical of this president. So this is a very big about-face for him. He said, quote, "Things are so bad that I'm going to have to give Trump the last word." On June 15th, he tweeted, and he goes on to say, this is the tweet that he refers to, "They made up a phony collusion with the Russian story, found zero proof, so now they go for obstruction of justice on the phony story." And the tweet goes on, and then he comes back to say, "Unless there's some new revelation, that may turn out to be pretty accurate commentary." Your thoughts?
Well, I think he's right. I think we're seeing it from both sides. Yeah. What happens in America is if you don't like somebody politically, lock them up, throw the key away. Each side criminalizes political differences with the other side. They did it with Hillary Clinton, with the espionage and the email server. That was never going to be a real crime. And they're doing it with Donald Trump. And I'm against it in both instances. But I am getting such heck from my liberal Democratic friends. How dare you stand in the way of this prosecution and impeachment? Well, I'm going to stand in the way because I don't believe the Constitution permits the prosecution of a president, especially for obstruction of justice, on the basis of him doing what he's constitutionally entitled to do, firing the director of the FBI, even telling him to terminate an investigation. As to the Russian collusion, the worst-case scenario, it's still not a crime. Maybe it should be a crime, but there's nothing in the statute books that would make it a crime. If Donald Trump called Putin and said, "Hey, Putin, help me become president and I'll be good to Russia," that would be terrible, but it wouldn't be a crime. And we have to understand the difference between doing something bad politically and committing a crime. It wouldn't be treason.
Why not?
Because the president is elected and he's entitled to make judgments about what's best for the United States.
Yeah, but I mean, you see plenty of people reporting on this who would say if that's what happened, that would be collusion.
That's
and
right.
That would show that he worked with a foreign country to undermine a U.S. election. And people say, that's the underpinning of our entire society, of our election process. So you're saying it would be reprehensible, but not illegal.
It wouldn't be illegal because Putin could. It depends on how you undercut. Obviously, if he hacked voting machines, that would be one thing. But if he leaked tweets, that's what Democrats do.
That's what happened, right? I mean, it was like nasty, embarrassing stuff that came out on emails is exactly what we're talking about here.
It's nasty stuff, but it's not criminal.
In terms of indictment, you can't indict a sitting president, correct?
Well, that's what the Justice Department says. They had a ruling back in 1973. They reiterated it more recently, saying the only process is if you think a president's committed a crime, you have to impeach him first. Remove him from office, then you can indict him and try him. But you can't try a sitting president for a crime he committed while president or while campaigning.
And that's because he's elected by the American people. So in order to put him through that scrutiny, he would have to be removed.
Imagine if a single prosecutor could end the presidency of somebody by simply indicting them and saying you have to be in a courtroom for the next 3 months defending yourself. Look, the Supreme Court made a terrible 9-0 decision with Clinton. When Bill Clinton was sued by Paula Jones, the Supreme Court 9-0 said he could be sued while he was a sitting president. That's dumb. A sitting president has a job to do.
What's happened as a political society, we've learned through Watergate and Whitewater that if you bring enough charges, if you put enough smoke out there, you are able to sort of really make someone's agenda impossible to carry out.
And that's what the Democrats have done to the Republicans. That's what the Republicans have done to the Democrats. And the big losers are the American people. It better be broken, because we're entitled to better from our elected officials on both sides. You don't like a candidate? Campaign against him. Go to Georgia. Help the Democrat win the election if you don't like the president. But don't charge him with frivolous crimes which can't be prosecuted under our Constitution today. It just takes time away from the president trying to achieve his agenda. He was elected. You know, we lost. Yeah. Face it, we lost. We're going to try to win again, but we lost last time. And the answer to that is not making crimes out of political differences.
Thank you, Professor Dershowitz. Great having you here.
Thank you.
Hope you'll come back soon.